At Thanksgiving, my dad announced, "We're selling the family business. You're getting nothing." He had no idea I was hiding a 500 million empire. Before heading forward to our story, please subscribe our channel. Now to our story. The first time my father erased me in public was at Thanksgiving, with a smile on his face and a glass of wine in his hand. Everyone laughed. I didn't. We were seated around the long dining table in our Ikoyi family house, the kind of house people slowed down to stare at. Polished marble floors, quiet air conditioning, old money portraits lining the walls, the smell of roasted turkey mixed with jollof rice, an African twist on a borrowed tradition. Thanksgiving wasn't even our culture. But my father liked borrowed power. "Before we eat," he said, clearing his throat, "I have an announcement." I felt my husband, Tund, straighten beside me. My siblings leaned in. Phones came out. Anticipation filled the room. My father smiled like a king about to reward loyalty. "We're selling the family business," he said proudly. "And I've decided how the proceeds will be shared." My stomach tightened. "The boys will take over negotiations," he continued, nodding at my brothers. "They understand business." Then he turned, slowly, toward me. "As for you," he said almost kindly, "you won't be getting anything. You're married now. Your husband should provide." Silence. Then laughter. Polite. Awkward. Dangerous. My mother didn't look at me. My brothers didn't defend me. My husband squeezed my knee under the table, not in support, but in warning. "Don't embarrass us." I smiled. Inside, something ancient and sharp woke up. Because what none of them knew, not my father, not my husband, not even my siblings, was that I had quietly built a business worth over 500 million. And they had just declared war on the wrong person. The daughter who was never enough growing up. I learned early what my value was in my father's eyes. I was intelligent, but not worth investing in. Capable, but not to be trusted with power. Loyal, but expendable. "Business is for men," he used to say. "A woman's success is her marriage." So I obeyed. Outwardly, I studied finance quietly. I worked internships secretly. I learned systems, markets, leverage. By the time I married Tund, charming, ambitious, well-connected, I already understood something he didn't. People who underestimate you give you the best hiding place. From the outside, my life looked enviable. Successful husband. Luxury apartment. Family name respected in Lagos circles. At events, people smiled at me and said, "You're lucky." At home, my voice slowly disappeared. Tund started handling finances. "It's easier," he said. "I'll manage everything." He encouraged distance from my father, but not from his influence. "You don't need inheritance drama," he said. "I've got us." I believed him. That was my first mistake. Small cracks I ignored. The changes were subtle. Tund started asking detailed questions about my past work. "Who did you meet when you traveled? What skills did you really use back then? Any savings I should know about?" He laughed when he asked. So I laughed too. Then came the secrecy. Phone calls he took outside. Emails he closed quickly. Documents he locked away. One night I asked, "Are we okay?" He kissed my forehead. "Why wouldn't we be?" But his eyes didn't wait for my answer. After my father's announcement, people pretended nothing had happened. Plates were passed. Conversations resumed. But I noticed things. My brother whispered to my husband. My father watched me, not with guilt, but with satisfaction. My husband avoided my eyes. Later that night, as we drove home, I broke the silence. "You didn't defend me," I said quietly. Tund sighed. "Not everything needs a reaction." They said I deserve nothing. "You're my wife," he replied. That should be enough. That sentence settled into my chest like a locked door. The first shocking sleep refused to come that night. Tund was already snoring softly when I got up and walked into the study. His laptop was open. That was unusual. I didn't mean to snoop. I just meant to close it. Then I saw the screen. An email chain. My name. My father's company. A subject line that made my breath stop. Post-sale asset allocation and contingency plan. Daughter aware? I scrolled. My husband had replied. She has no independent assets. Completely dependent. We proceed after the sale. Another message followed. Divorce window? My hands started shaking. At the bottom of the thread, if she resists, we activate the pressure. She'll fold. Pressure. I stepped back from the desk, my heart pounding so loudly I was sure it would wake him. At that exact moment, I heard Tun's voice behind me. You weren't supposed to see that. I turned slowly. He stood in the doorway, calm, measured, watching me like a problem he was already solving. And that was when I understood. Thanksgiving wasn't just humiliation. It was preparation. I didn't scream when I read the emails. That surprised me. I didn't throw the laptop. I didn't wake my husband. I didn't cry on the floor the way movies teach women to do when they discover betrayal. Instead, something inside me went cold, sharp, alert, disciplined. Like a woman who finally understood the rules of the game she'd been playing without knowing it. Tun stood in the doorway, watching me. You weren't meant to see that yet, he said calmly. Yet. That single word told me everything. I turned my face into something neutral, not shocked, not angry. Curious. See what? I asked. He hesitated. Just for a second. Then he smiled. You misunderstand, he said. It's business talk. Your father worries too much. I nodded slowly. Okay. That answer unsettled him more than tears would have. The performance of ignorance from that night on, I became the wife he expected. I laughed at his jokes. I asked him what he wanted for dinner. I listened when he talked about our future. Inside, I was counting days, patterns, names. I memorized the rhythm of his lies. He began to relax. That's when people make mistakes. The full plan reveals itself 3 days later. He left his phone on the kitchen counter while he showered. A message lit up the screen. Miriam, your father-in-law confirmed the sale date. Once it's done, she's finished. My chest tightened, but my hands stayed steady. I unlocked the phone. There it was. Everything. A second phone line. A hidden apartment in Lekki Phase 1. A woman, not just a mistress, but a partner. They weren't just planning to divorce me. They were planning to erase me financially. Screenshots, voice notes, bank drafts. And the most painful part, my father was involved. Not manipulated. Willing. She's too soft, he'd written. Marriage will control her. I closed the phone gently and placed it back exactly where it was. In that moment, I grieved. Not my marriage. My illusion. The woman he didn't know I still was that afternoon. I drove alone to an office building in Yaba. No signboard. No luxury reception. Just efficiency. I walked in and the receptionist looked up. Good afternoon, madam. Tell Ao that Phoenix is back, I said. Her eyes widened. She stood immediately. Ao had been my first hire years ago, back when I quietly built a logistics tech platform that connected African suppliers to international buyers. I had stepped away publicly after marriage. Privately, I never let go. In a boardroom overlooking the city, Ao stared at me. We thought you were retired, he said. I smiled. I was hiding. The 500 million secret: my company wasn't loud. It didn't advertise. It scaled. Contracts in Ghana, warehouses in Kenya, digital infrastructure in Nigeria. Valuation: just over 500 million. And no one knew. Not my husband. Not my father. Not my brothers. I had built it under a holding name, through trusts and silent partners. Because somewhere deep inside, I had always known, love is beautiful, but leverage is safety. Over the next 2 weeks, I did 3 things. 1. I secured everything. Lawyers. Firewalls. Legal walls. 2. I documented everything. Messages. Emails. Voice notes. 3. I let them believe I was weak. Tund became careless. He started snapping at me. "You're too emotional," he said one night. "Focus on being supportive." I apologized and recorded it. My father called me unexpectedly. "Come see me," he said. Alone. I sat across from him in his study, the same place he once taught my brothers how to read balance sheets. "You know," he said slowly, "a woman's pride is dangerous." I met his eyes. "You should sign these," he continued, sliding papers across the desk. "So there's no confusion after the sale." I glanced at the documents. They stripped me of any future claim. "I'll think about it," I said softly. He smiled. "Don't take too long. Your husband agrees with me." That night, I didn't sleep. I planned. And before this story continues, let me say this. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more powerful African tales. Because what comes next changes everything. The first crack appeared quietly. One of Tun's accounts froze. Then another. He came home sweating. "Did you move money?" he asked. "No," I replied gently. "Why would I?" His mistress started asking questions. My father's sale timeline stalled. They didn't understand why. I did. Because I had begun tightening the net. Legally, invisibly. Then Ao called me late one night. "Madam," he said carefully, "your husband just tried to leverage your company." My heart skipped. "What do you mean?" "He doesn't know it's yours," Ao continued, "but he tried to use it as collateral through a shell entity." I closed my eyes and smiled, because that meant one thing. Tund was about to destroy himself, using my empire, without even knowing it belonged to me. Power never announces itself. It reveals itself when the people who thought they owned you suddenly realize they don't. The meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. neutral ground. A corporate office in Victoria Island. My father arrived first, confident, dressed like a man who believed history still obeyed him. My husband arrived next, tense, impatient, already angry at the world. I arrived last, calm. The legal team greeted us and asked everyone to sit. My father spoke first. "We're here to finalize the sale of Adewale Holdings," he said proudly. "My sons will handle future interests." The lead lawyer nodded politely. Then he turned to me. "Madam," he said, "before we proceed, there's a clarification required." Tund shifted beside me. The lawyer slid a document across the table. "This entity," he said, "has placed a legal hold on the sale." My father frowned. "What entity?" The lawyer read the name. Phoenix Meridian Group. Silence. Tund's head snapped toward me. My father scoffed. "Never heard of it." I folded my hands. "You shouldn't have," I said calmly. "I built it." My father stared at me as if I had spoken another language. "That's not funny," he said. "I'm not joking," I replied. The lawyer continued, his voice even. "Phoenix Meridian Group holds controlling logistics infrastructure tied to Adewale Holdings' export chain. Any sale without their approval violates existing contracts. My father's face drained of color. Tund whispered, "What is he saying?" I turned to my husband. "I'm saying," I said softly, "that the business you plan to erase me with depends on me to survive." Tund stood abruptly. "You lied to me," he said. I looked up at him. "No," I replied. I stayed silent. "There's a difference." The lawyer wasn't finished. "Additionally," he said, "there are unresolved legal concerns regarding attempted asset misrepresentation." He placed another file on the table. Screenshots, emails, voice notes, my father's messages, Tund's instructions, the mistress's confirmations, all documented, all clean, all undeniable. My father tried to regain control. "This is family business," he snapped. "We can settle this privately." The lawyer shook his head. "This is corporate law." That was the moment my father truly aged. His voice softened. "You hid this from me?" he asked. I met his eyes. "You taught me to survive quietly," I said. "I just learned the lesson too well." The sale collapsed that day. Not loudly, irreversibly. 2 days later, the woman I had never officially met walked into my office. Miriam. She looked tired. "He lied to me too," she said. "About everything." She slid a flash drive across the desk. "Take it," she continued. "I don't want this life." Inside were records that completed the story: financial manipulation, false filings, promises he never kept. I didn't celebrate. I thanked her. Because truth doesn't need applause. Tund didn't argue. He didn't threaten. He didn't beg. He just sat across from me one evening and said, "I didn't know you were this powerful." I nodded. "I know." The divorce was clean, fair, final. He walked away with dignity intact, but ambition broken. That was consequence enough. 1 year later, we gathered again. Same house, same table, different energy. My father didn't lead the conversation anymore. My brothers listened more than they spoke. I poured wine calmly. No announcement was made. None was needed. Everyone already knew. As dinner ended, my father spoke quietly. "I sold the company," he said, "to you." I looked up. "You earned it," he added, "even if I didn't see it in time." I nodded. Forgiveness doesn't always come with forgetting, but it can come with closure. Here's what betrayal taught me. Sometimes the people closest to you don't want your success, they want your dependence. And sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's revelation. Because when people finally see who you really are, they can never unsee it. And that is power no one can sell away.